There's a pretty good chance that we could go on a little bit of a run here. And I think, the optimism right now, I think for lower rates, maybe in the coming weeks and months, is a little better than it was just a week or two ago.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Mortgage Minute. My name is Matt Thomas. I'm joined by Brian Dewald. We together are covering several points today in our Mortgage Minute. There is room for optimism in today's Mortgage Minute. We did obviously have just a change in president, but that may not necessarily be the reason. There are several points of note that I think that Brian would like to make. Brian, generally things look like they're maybe looking up. What's better is that there's data to back that up.
Yeah, so there's a few good points to, sort of talk about today. And, the first one I want to mention, the last time we met, it was a little not great news, right? Just looking at the job report that came out a couple of weeks ago really surpassed expectations in terms of, what we were hoping to see, which is never good news for the mortgage rate piece. Since then, last week, we saw a little bit of a rebound, actually a decent rebound, pretty great rebound when it comes to, the prices. We had a peak, and I'll bring this up shortly and show you kind of the peak for the 10-year Treasury was just less than 2 weeks ago. I think it was January 10th. And we've since seen that come back down, which is an indication that, mortgage rates are coming back down. There was a good CPI report, which is the Consumer Price Index. That's an inflation number. Came in a little soft, not in all areas, but at least in the areas that affect, the mortgage rates, which is what we were looking for. So good news on that front last week.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Brian, I obviously alluded to the change in president. With that comes some executive orders. But what was new this time, it seemed like, at least, was that we got some explanations on what those executive orders are and how that might impact housing. Do you want to report on that for a minute?
Yeah, so I think, kind of the general buzz was when, we start hearing about this and that going on with, you heard his comments yesterday about drill, baby, drill. The market reacted friendly to that. When he signed the executive order, there was, hope that some of this energy, specifically talking about the energy executive order, is that there was optimism, as far as the markets go. So we saw another little bump late in yesterday, and I guess not yesterday. We were closed. The markets were closed yesterday for MLK, but this morning we got a nice little bump in the right direction. So markets are responding nicely so far to what Trump was talking about yesterday.
Brian, we've got a couple other big reports coming up. JOLTS report.
Yeah, there's two of them that we're kind of looking forward to. And, if anybody's been watching our channel here, it's no surprise that we talk about inflation and employment data quite a bit. These are the two biggest contributors to mortgage rates, right? So JOLTS is think of it as a preview of what the next employment data is going to look at. That's called JOLTS. And then the QCEW report is going to come out in February. It comes out every year, and it looks at the actual job numbers for the year that we just came out of. So, and all expectations are that QCEW report is going to be showing about half of what we saw for the BLS this year, which will be not much of a surprise to anybody that's been following this. Additionally, the part about the JOLTS, they're looking at some key things that, some indicators that we've seen over the last few months that are showing some slowdowns in some particular areas, including government work. And we could, hope that maybe with some of this efficiency stuff that they're talking about, that as those reports start to come out, that it does start to lower some of the numbers that we see, especially some of the questionable numbers that we see coming out. So we'll look forward to those.
It's interesting, Brian, as I'm listening to you explain these different jobs reports, what I'm hearing you say is there's a jobs report that says there's a future-looking jobs report. Yeah. There's a revisionary jobs report or an actual reporting. And then there's the BLS, which is, sort of pie in the sky and gives everyone all this optimism, which sort of works against inflation. So you can see why rates go up, why they come down, why you need, experts to be able to interpret these types of things for sure.
True story. Yeah, true story.
Brian, you also brought along some data that you'd like to show, and I think this could be helpful, especially for those who appreciate a good illustration.
Yeah. So this is a 12-month history, and I can zoom in and out on this a little bit, but this is a 12-month history of the 10-year Treasury note. And so if we go back to the left side here, this is always already back at January 23rd of 2024. You can kind of see these are ups, downs, ups, downs, ups, downs. We had a lull back in September. We call it a little mini refi boom, and then kind of slowly up and down a little bit. But here's the peak. This is what I was mentioning last week when that last jobs report came out, the BLS one, was this really high spike on January 10th. It's green here, hits the peak, and then we've already dropped back down. This is a really crucial level of support was right up here, and we dodged it. We didn't quite go past it. And there's another pretty big layer going all the way down. So, there's a pretty good chance that we could go on a little bit of a run here. And I think, the optimism right now, I think for lower rates, maybe in the coming weeks and months, is a little better than it was just a week or two ago. So, we'll see if some of these things, come together over the next bit. But, good news so far.
Yeah, look, we take it while we can get it. You can see again, for those of you watching who are maybe considering a mortgage, how critical it is to stay in tune with these types of things. 2 weeks ago, it was brutal. I can tell you that corresponded with, the turn of the year. People were still probably on holiday vacations, things like that. And I think what I saw how this played out in the market is, it seemed like showings were slow, applications were down. As you can see, that was obviously kind of a peak that we kind of experienced for the past year almost. So that was a little troubling. But with with things kind of receding a little bit, even over just the past 2 weeks, I have actually seen, Brian, we had a price reduction on the listing just over the weekend, and this weekend brought all kinds of traffic, and we ended up with 3 offers all at the same time, even though that property had been on the market for a little or approaching a month. And so, it really goes to show, as we talk about all the time, when things start to open up in terms of, we want to hear the good news about the rates falling, trending in the right direction, and those types of things. But when we actually see it play out in the market, it's very impactful almost immediately. Those people who are searching for a home will tend to jump on those better rates the second they get truly better for them. People getting into the market will jump in at that time. And then as we approach spring, there's always that bump that we're going to get. So
for sure,
good to see those things playing out and people, taking advantage and finding homes right away.
Agree.
Did you see a similar impact in terms of mortgages? You said, I think, a couple of weeks ago that you were fairly busy in that regard.
Yeah, gosh, we've had really quite a staggering start to the year in a good way, right? As you and I have talked about this a lot, I track everything from, leads and applications and contracts and close ratios and all this kind of stuff. And our January is off to a red hot start, which is really great news.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's a great note to end on. We've got lots to watch. We've got good news, good trends, at least at the moment. Let's hope that continues. We encourage you, as always, to stay tuned so that you don't miss when these things tend to shift or change, when there's some critical information either on the horizon to plan for or that's already hit that may make an adjustment and a difference when it comes to buying a home. Brian, I appreciate you as always. We'll look forward to talking to you next time.
Thanks again. Talk to you soon.